Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
While shopping for vacation clothes, the husband and the wife passed a display of bathing suits. It had been at least 10 years and, quite frankly, 20 pounds since she had even considered buying a bathing suit. So she sought her husband's advice. "What do you think, dear?" she asked. "Should I get a bikini or an all-in-one?" He thought about it and said, "Better get a bikini," he replied. "You'd never get it all in one." And for your information, the husband is still in intensive care. Good morning, everybody. Zeb Bell, here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, there she goes, the wonderful Kate Smith, and God Bless America. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly 734-6969. And now on St. Patrick's Day, here's Gina O. Jameson.
Truly, it's actually O'Mallaghan, but if you really want to know.
Are you serious? Mm-hmm. So you're Irish?
Very much so.
Oh, my goodness.
And my son, of course, born on St. Patrick's Day.
That's right. Happy birthday to Kennedy today.
Yep.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kennedy. Happy birthday to you.
And so many more.
Yes.
7 years old.
I know.
Boy, I was going to say, is he getting old, but so are we.
Mom feels like it.
Yeah, I know.
Feels like it.
Anyhow, happy birthday to Kennedy, and we got a big St. Patrick's Day celebration. We got a lot of great guests on the air and everything. And do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Al on for the pledge, and then Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very well done, Gina. Thank you very much. Al, good morning. The pledge, please.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alan O'Butler, have a good day, sir.
Hey, sir, can I ask you a question?
You already did.
Karzai's going to keep acting like a total jackass. I'd like to see our senators in that say, okay, that's it. Pull the troops out. Take every piece of equipment we can carry out of there. If we can't carry it or move it out, blow it all to hell, and just leave that country to him and his Arabs.
Yeah, and the other thing is to cut the money off totally.
Right. I'm sick and tired of it because our boys are still getting killed, and all he's doing sitting there telling us what he's going to do. Okay, just take us out. Take everything out of the country, what you can't carry, and drive out, then blow out.
Actually, Karzai, pardon me, is just absolutely nothing more than a little punk that's playing up right now to Al-Qaeda to protect his bets. Once we do pull out, he's really concerned if he doesn't shiny up to Al-Qaeda, he might end up on the end of a pole upside down.
It's going to be just like Vietnam. If we leave all that stuff in there, they're going to turn right around and shoot it back at us.
I got to run,
blow
but
it all to hell.
I totally agree with you, Al. Thank you very much, my friend.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
This wind off.
I wish that we could. I'm afraid it's going to blow us off the air. Time for Michael Rogers' weather. Michael, good morning.
Morning, Zeb Bell. Morning, everybody. you basically stated our weather story for today and also for tonight. There's one thing folks in the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho do not like. They do not like the wind. Well, let's get serious for a minute, because you could see wind gusts today at possibly 60 miles an hour.
Ooh.
We're not playing around today. You have a pretty strong, potent storm system passing through our area. It's a fast-moving system. It'll be done throughout much of the day, and it'll taper off later tonight after midnight. Before today, sustained winds 35 to 55, gusting to possibly 60 miles an hour. You can kick in some showers along with that. Temperatures will be mainly in the mid to upper 50s for today. The overnight lows will be in the upper 30s. It'll continue into tomorrow, but it will taper off, and you'll have sunny skies for tomorrow with temperatures in the upper 50s. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
The best weatherman in the world, and he proves it every day right here on this program, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Holy smokes, we got a lot of things to do this morning, and first and foremost, I want to remind you about Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my. Deanna and I have been taking our clothes in there to be cleaned and pressed for years and years, even prior to this program. And I just absolutely appreciate the way they do things, and they're so nice and amenable to helping. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people have called me and said, now, where is this place? It's at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy and the rest of the crew serving you at Daryl's Cleaners. You stop in and see them today. Also, another great sponsor of our program we want to say thank you to, and boy, they have proven invaluable to us here at our office, and that, of course, is SafeLink Internet. Number one choice for high-speed Internet. All you have to do to get on the service is call them at 677-8000. That number again, easy to remember, 677-8000. And they've got a referral customer service program too. And you refer 5 active accounts and receive that credit every single month on your bill. Hey, call them today. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Well, good morning, everybody. Let's see. First and foremost, today is St. Patrick's Day, and there are going to be parades in many parts of the United States. A lot of green beer and a lot of kissing the blarney or whatever else. And, Gina, if you're right there by your microphone, Twin Falls is going to have a St. Patrick's Day parade. Have you ever been a part of that, by the way?
Yes. As a matter of fact, our sister station, Hot 100, is going to be a part of it today.
Okay, my neighbor's going to be in it today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rocky Matthews. Do you know Rocky?
I think I've met him once.
He is Murtaugh's answer to Duck Dynasty.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice. Best neighbor you could ever have. Honestly, the greatest guy in the world. And he is going to be in the parade, and I came over and I said, what are you going to be doing in the parade? And he says, they've asked me to represent a bread company in the parade, and he is going to be dressing up as Mr. Big Slice.
He's going to get blown over today.
You know what? He better bring the whole loaf in this wind, let me tell you.
Mr. Big Slice is going to become Mr. Big Slice here in a minute.
I'll tell you. In all seriousness, I wish everybody well. I hope the weather's good. I hope they have a great St. Patrick's Day parade. But I'm going to talk about a very serious part of St. Patrick's Day parades in New York in just a minute, okay?
Okay.
Stand by for that. And right now, I also want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes. They still got some light bulbs. You better get in there. They've got incandescent light bulbs, 40, 60, 75, or 100 watt. I bought a great big box of them. I guarantee you the government's not going to tell me what I can turn on in my living room. I want to see. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They got a whole bunch of incandescent light bulbs. You stop in and check it out. You better hurry. Get in there today. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they always provide warm winters and cool summers. All your electrical needs at, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric. Also, today is a very special day. Besides being St. Patrick's Day, it's Chick Day. No, wrong kind of chick. We're talking about regular chickens. Over at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Big Chick Day going on. The first 50 customers spending $25 receive a free chick shirt. Got to be careful when you say that. A free chick shirt. Got through that. Along with all the feed, all the needs for your chickens, they've got it all for you over there at Valley White Home and Ranch, along with a lot of boots. Boy, they've got all kinds of area boots over there in all the men's, women's, and children's sizes. Stop over today. Chick Days at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Really, really nice people. I want to talk to you just a little bit about what's going on back in New York City with their great big St. Patrick's Day parade. Guinness Beer Company, along with many other sponsors of the New York St. Patrick's Day parade, have pulled out of the parade, pulled their support for the parade, and they're not going to be a part of it. Why? And here is where I want to be very vocal and be very open and honest. It is about time for various groups and various businesses and private citizenry that believe in the Bible, believe in morality, to speak up and exercise their freedom of speech like I have on this program a long time and will continue to do so. The reason that Guinness Beer is pulling out of the New York St. Patrick's Day parade is because the gays, lesbians, and transgenders demanded that they be in the parade, and many sponsors have pulled out because of it. Good for the businesses exercising their right not to accept an abnormal lifestyle. And I'll tell you something that really bothers me, and it happened here in the Western Days Parade in Twin Falls. The gays, lesbians, and transgenders want to sexualize. They want to sexualize these events, and I find it appalling, and it's time that people stood up and said no. And so when they lose the sponsor money pretty soon, I know it's going to hurt the event. I know you're going to say, well, gee whiz, maybe they won't have a parade next year. So be it. But you know what? For us in this country that believe in morality, believe in family values, and believe in the Bible, it's about time we stood up, spoke out, and exercised our rights of not going along with the flow. And another thing, too, to the folks up in Boise that were hounding our legislative session to add the words, that was their slogan, add the words. No. And I'm glad our legislature basically said no and turned a deaf ear to their needs of wanting special rights. There are already discrimination clauses on all the books, anti-discrimination clauses. And I'm sick and tired of one group wanting more and more and more. There we go. Calls are welcome. Have the nerve to speak out, please. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is going to be a great big sale, Don Taylor Farms auction, on this Thursday, March 20th at 10:30 a.m., and that's at 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert. And the sale is going to be run by one of the best, Musser Brothers Auctions and Real Estate. I'll tell you, Randy Musser, good old boy. And for more information on this, write the number down. Call him at 733-8700. This sale is going to start at 10:30 a.m. sharp, and they got all kinds of great tractors and balers and swathers and rakes and loaders and backhoes and semi-tractors, grain equipment. This is going to be what they say, a ripping good sale on Thursday, March 20th, starting at 10:30 a.m., 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert, managed by Musser Brothers Auctions and Real Estate. The Don Taylor Farms Auction. Don't you miss it. All right, give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to just absolutely have you respond to that. I'm fed up with us that believe in the Bible, believe in what it says, believe in family values, and for these businesses like Guinness Beer and others, many other sponsors have pulled out also because they will not be dictated to by the gay and lesbian and transgender movement. Good for them, because it's high time our side spoke out and spoke up for what's right in society. All right, your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Before I forget, and Gina has to remind me, it's time for the tip of the coffee cup this morning to some really, really nice people. And this morning we're going to salute all the folks over at SafeLink Internet. Yes, sir, the best in service, the best in high-speed Internet, and we say thank you very much. And also some wonderful people in Twin Falls that are our friends. We absolutely love Tony and Mary Salerno, so good morning to them. And a tip of coffee cup to all of those good folks this morning. All right, your turn. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I hope people are not weakening on speaking out. I hope people are not going to back off and not chime in for their right and their exercising of their right of free speech. Never weaken, folks. Absolutely never weaken. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Denny's Restaurant. And they are America's diner that's always open to you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they're located at 611 North Overland in Burley with Thomas and the rest of the crew. Oh, nice people. And our next lunch bunch is going to be over there on the 27th, so don't miss that. Oh, my goodness, seniors, don't forget, show your AARP card, 15% off your bill all day, every day at Denny's Restaurant. You're going to love the food and the service. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Well, people are blown in this morning, so give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There has never been, well, we'll get back to that never been in just a moment. Caller, good morning. Thanks for speaking out. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I just wanted to send a thrill down your spine.
Uh-oh.
My voice. You have a really good St. Patrick's Day, and I agree with you 100%.
Helen, isn't it a shame? I know that you're a God-fearing Christian, but, you know, isn't it a shame that we, and I lump everybody together that goes to church and believes in the Bible and believes in family values, we're not speaking out and we're being told to shut up.
Amen. And we better do it, or we've got society down our necks.
Amen to that. Helen, you and Dal have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance and showing appreciation to my mom and dad Saturday at their 61st anniversary party.
Well, you're very welcome, and I apologize. I just, this sciatic nerve on this leg, I haven't been going anywhere too far from the old geezer chair.
Well, that's fine. They had over 270 people show up and sign the guest book.
Oh, my. That's really nice.
Memories, and I just want to thank everybody for, coming out and showing that they, appreciate my mom and dad.
Well, your mom and dad are pretty special people, and just go over and give your mom a big hug and a kiss, and not your dad, though. I mean, just shake hands with him or something. Tell him it's from me, if you would. I'd appreciate that.
You betcha, sir. You have a great day.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Calls welcome, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Helen spoke out, and I appreciate it. And your calls will be welcome. I'm going to talk about Flight 370 in just a moment, because I've never seen anything like this, ever. Don't forget Penetron Cell Conditioner by Maisie, with a 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops with 30 interactive components. That's right, speeding germination and reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity. And don't forget, low-cost Penetron saves 10 to 15% on irrigation water. Water savings alone will pay for the product. Penetron by Maisie. Get the real product. That's right, increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner. Penetron by Maisie. Contact your fertilizer dealer today to obtain Penetron soil conditioner. You better call 734-2255. Good morning. You're on the air.
How are you this morning, partner?
I am good, my dear friend. What can I do for you this morning?
Last week, I had the opportunity to spend a little time with Russ Fulcher.
Mm-hmm.
First time was at the little theater when all the candidates got together, and I got to meet him and also Brian Smith. And then Saturday, I was to the Sportsman Profession Wildlife banquet, and I sat at the same table right against Russ Fulcher and had a real good talk to him one-on-one. We visited back and forth, and he answered a lot of my questions, and I'm sold on it.
All right.
He's very down to earth. He's conservative. And I think he'll do a lot of good for our state of Idaho and our country. He is very concerned about the direction our country's going, Sam.
Well, there's no question about it that every time I get in my office at 4 o'clock in the morning to prepare for this program, there are so many things that are falling apart at the seams that we've got to get people in office that really care about the fabric of America and that Constitution.
That's right. And, well, he was up there campaigning for himself. I see Butch Otter was up in Idaho Falls campaigning for Mike Simpson.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what, we're in the middle of the political race right now, and we're going to have a lot of people on this program. And Fred, I always appreciate and respect your calls. I do want to ask you to call me after the program. I need to visit with you a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. I'd appreciate it. Just give me a holler on my cell phone. I'll visit with you, okay?
Will do.
All right, my friend. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you very, very much. Dear friend of mine right there. I've got a lot of respect for that man. We are going to, I'm going to take care of it right now, and then I'll take some more of your calls. We're going to talk about Travel Loop Supply. Don't forget, they've got all your chain for the wheel lines. They've got your bubble ropes. They've got, oh my goodness, have they got filters for your equipment? Yes, they had 2 semi-trailer loads of filters, and you can save as much as up to 90% off. I am not kidding you. You better check it out today. Travel Loop Supply. And they've got all your nuts and bolts. They've got everything, metric and standard bolts in your bolt bins. Everything at Travel Loop Supply. 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. Number to call, 438-8730. Travel Loop Supply. They deliver the goods. It's time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute. And that's brought to you by Lennox. And Lennox, of course, right with our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. You check it out today at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Litigation against Monsanto is on hiatus as farmers and the company try to settle lawsuits over the unauthorized release of biotech wheat. Last year, volunteer wheat plants that sprouted in an eastern Oregon field were found to be genetically engineered by Monsanto to withstand glyphosate herbicides. Multiple farmers from around the country filed complaints against Monsanto, claiming the company negligently allowed the restricted crop to escape during field trials. The lawsuits sought compensation from Monsanto for a drop in wheat prices and the loss of export markets. A mediation session to settle the suits has been set for April 11th in Newport, California. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
I want to talk just a minute, if I may, and I want your calls on this. I followed this story. And I hate to use this word fascinating because it's such a tragedy with the 239 people on board that Flight 370, that Malaysian airline flight. But it's never been such a mystery, ever, in the history of air transportation, what happened to the plane. Now, most of the investigation of what happened to Flight 370 is centered around and or near the pilot himself. They have taken shovels and dug up a lot of dirt on this man and his abilities and what he had done, what he'd been connected to, etc., and checked into his background, and he had this flight simulator that he had built in his home, and basically he had always said that because he just loved being a pilot, the reason he built the flight simulator is just that he wanted to be the best that there was, and he wanted to learn more and everything. And he also had some family problems that are coming out to the point where the day of the mystery starting, he had some severe family problems with his wife and his children. Well, now, we don't know. There's nobody that knows what the theory is regarding this airplane. And if people say they know, they're lying. Because did the plane go north? and possibly land in Pakistan. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm still standing behind what I said last Tuesday. I came out on the air last Tuesday, and a lot of people criticized me as being a right-wing nut and said, oh, boy, there you go with another one of your hypothetical mysteries. Well, a lot of what I said Tuesday is coming true. I said Tuesday on the air, and I've got it on tape, that I think the plane was hijacked. I think it was for Al-Qaeda purposes to possibly use the plane for another event like another 911, loaded with perhaps demolition devices that could cause another havoc-wreaking event. And I said that's why I thought the plane had disappeared. A lot of people, oh my goodness sakes, farthest thing from the truth. But now, many experts, including Lieutenant Colonel Thomas McInerney, has come out and said the very same thing. But did it make it? Did the pilot, whomever the pilot was, or was it someone on the airplane, take the plane and fly north towards Pakistan, or did they turn left and fly out over the Indian Ocean and very, very possibly run out of fuel and crash into the ocean? There are so many complex questions as to what happened. 26 countries are looking for this airplane. 26 countries. And Malaysia is accused of holding back information and then all of a sudden saying, oops, we forgot to let you know this, that, and the other. And there's so many thoughts on this mess. But one point is very, very clear. One point is very, very clear. This must be absolutely like a punch in the gut to the poor family members of people that had family on that airplane. They do not know what happened. There's no closure, and they don't know. I hear your mic on.
Well, I was just reading up on the latest developments on this case, and the one thing that really strikes me is that all of the computer telecommunication systems that the plane sends to towers and just as like computer checks things, all of those were shut off. These are not something that somebody has to know the intricacies of that particular plane and of the Boeing 777 to know how to shut off these communication devices.
That's right.
So why were they shut off?
Well, and you know, Gina, this whole thing from the get-go, and I had people call me and say, you're just one of those right-wing weirdos. You always think there's some kind of an under-the-table deal. Well, it's proving what I said last Tuesday is coming true, to the point where, this plane didn't just go wacko on its own. No. And I questioned the two people that were on the plane with not legal passports. I questioned others that were on the list of passengers. There's some others that had some shady backgrounds. And you know as well as I do that there's been takeovers of other aircraft by people that might be in row 9, 13, 47, and 52 that stood up all of a sudden, and there was a massive takeover of the plane. Mm-hmm. But right now, we do not know, and anything and everything is all speculation, but what happened to the plane, nobody knows. Nobody knows, because all of those communication devices that they have on board just for computer reasons, system checks, computer checks, the computers checking in with their home base, whatever, why were those shut off? And if those were shut off deliberately, that means there was some sort of malice that was going to go on that. And there's one point to consider here, and I was listening very carefully all through the weekend, and if the plane did fly to a country that absolutely wants to cause havoc with Al-Qaeda, like Pakistan, okay? Mm-hmm. You have to fly over land, and evidently there might have been a greasing of the palm with a lot of money to ignore that flight passing over their country, so that if there was a radar catch of that plane, somebody didn't report it or whatever. I don't know how they could fly over land without being caught. I don't know how they could fly over land without having some kind of a radar blip show at the time and everything that it went that way. However, the other way, if it was a confiscation of the plane to repaint and use for another dastardly deed, why would they turn left and go over more water than they had fuel for? Exactly. And if they turn to the north,
there are too many countries that would have noticed them on radar.
That's right.
You've got,
That's right.
India, you've got Pakistan, you've got Afghanistan. There's and they have very, very tight control over their airspace. Now, that there was one comment made that there was this in the southern point of India, they do have this radar that is not often monitored as closely as some of the others. So that could possibly be a theory, but who knows?
Well, and the other point they were making this morning, and a couple of the experts kind of poo-pooed this and said the pilot, whoever was piloting the aircraft when he went to 45,000 feet, might have generated the fact that the oxygen level in the the compartment where all the passengers were would have given them a lack of oxygen and they would have passed out. Well, they could have done that manually by operating the pressure in the cabin without having to go to 45,000 feet.
And there was another report that says that they dropped down to 5,000 feet to get below radar detection.
Yeah.
Those are unconfirmed, but so...
But there again, everything is unconfirmed, and we are in the 9th day, and nobody seems to know.
Yeah. Got a phone call.
Okay, thanks, Gina. Good morning. Caller, I'm going to ask your patience. Please let me get this commercial on, and then I will be right with you, I promise. Don't go away. 42nd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. This is one of the dandies for the state of Idaho. My good friend Fred Snook and the rest of the crew. It's going to start on April 10th and go the 11th, 12th, and 13th. My goodness, at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds, it's going to be ripping good fun. On Thursday, they're going to open things up, and they're going to have a social hour at 5 p.m. They're going to have a mule sale, Calcutta. Friday, of course, they're going to have the big mule sale. Saturday, they're going to have the big horse sale. They're going to have all kinds of fun in between. And then Sunday, a big team roping. All of this and more at the 42nd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale up at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. Don't you miss it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I was just going to say what Tina did about that. They said that if they flew below 5,000 feet, that the radars wouldn't pick them up.
What do you think? Give me your honest opinion. What do you think happened to this plane? Did it take a northern route? Did it do a little jigsaw puzzle type wave where it went north and it went left and then it went back north and then it went back west again? Nobody seems to know. All the cockpit information was turned off. What are your honest thoughts? A lot of people thought I was nuts when I said the plane was confiscated by Al-Qaeda for future purposes. Again, a lot of people now are starting to agree with me. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you. That was my initial thought, that there was some form of foul play. So I'm right seeing that too.
You know, this kind of a takeover, I want to ask you this kind of a takeover of an airliner with almost 250 people, it should make everybody really cringe and be worried. If the plane is available for Al-Qaeda, think of all the havoc that they could do.
Absolutely. And I also read this weekend that Malaysia is finally coming clean and saying that the radars were shut off, and then 20 minutes later is when they gave the goodnight message that's been so famous. That they're coming clean, saying that was after the radars were shut off.
Absolutely.
And then minutes later, they made that call.
And the families, I want you to comment on the families. I cannot imagine what they're going through with no source of closure whatsoever. I mean, if they find out that the plane did crash in the Indian Ocean, at least they can have the closure of basically saying goodbye to their loved ones. But right now there is no closure because nobody knows, and it's going into the 9th day.
For sure, and closure for us, as far as fear goes, that, it's not going to be used as a weapon of mass destruction.
Absolutely. You know, I was listening to, maybe you heard the interview, former general, and he was saying what an airliner of that size and magnitude, crammed with all kinds of explosive devices, including nuclear material, being repainted and going into a major airport anywhere in the world to cause havoc and devastation. We haven't seen the likes of what could happen with that kind of a tool.
And we may have just witness the new way they're going to get to us.
You're right. God bless you for your call, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your thoughts are welcome. That lady, I appreciate that very much. I'm just really worried. I hope, honestly, and I said this last week on the air, I hope that the plane, I know this is going to sound terrible regarding the poor people that were on that flight, but I hope that the plane did go down in the ocean. I honestly hope and pray that the crew and the passengers didn't have to suffer. Because if it went to another source, if it landed in another country, and I was listening to a gentleman on Sunday talking about this, that possibly the passengers would have been annihilated anyway, as to no witnesses as to what took place. I mean, this whole thing, we don't know. It's a mystery, and there's a lot of speculation. Caller, I'm going to ask you to stay there just for a minute. I got to quickly tell everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and also just down the road a little bit on Highway 30, 159 West Highway 30 going into Burley. They've got all the Coyote tractors. They've got everything you need for your spring needs, all the loaders, everything. You better get in there and check it out with Nick and Rosie over there in Burley, and our old buddy Eli helping you in Twin Falls. Berry Equipment and Rental, they've got everything you're looking for, and believe me, asking for the opportunity to earn your business at Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir. I'm good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the plane was hijacked, and as far as radar picking it up, saying a dime's worth of countries over there gives a damn about us, and they wouldn't report it anyway. They could be bought off that easy.
I would hate to think that is correct, but I've always had a tendency to think that the plane did go north. I've had a tendency to think the plane did go towards Pakistan or some other land base in that area. I've always had a tendency to think that there was, like I said earlier, a greasing of the palm to make sure that nothing was said and that it was a clandestine operation from the get-go. But, you know, George, no matter what we speculate on this morning, we know here as much as any of the so-called experts because nobody knows what happened.
Yeah, and they really don't want the U.S. in there. They're stalling us to get in there so we can help them track it and find out the problem.
I have a tendency to think, George, that the pilot, with the background that they're starting to find, unless it's an excuse, and I hope it's not being used as an excuse, his background, his family problems, the flight simulator, all of this, along with his ties to some radicals with groups that are like Al-Qaeda, I hope it's not being used as an excuse, but it sounds like with him possibly being the way he was, and then having possibly assistance on the airplane, who knows?
Yeah, and you know, Zeb, if they use that as a weapon of mass destruction, it would make the 911 look awful small, because, boy, they could load that up and be devastated.
Well, the scenario I said last Tuesday, and I made my remarks off the cuff, and as I said, there were some people that were offended by my remarks, saying that I was a right-winger, the plane crashed, in their opinion, and I was wrong to say that it might have been hijacked and it might be used for a potentially dangerous and very dastardly deed in the future. Well, George, it looks like what I said is coming to fruition as much as any other theory, because right now, if the plane could be repainted, and if the plane accepted new numbers, and if the plane was flying into a New York City or a Boston or anywhere else underneath an illegal name and make, etc., think of the devastation that could cause.
It is, and you know, Zeb, if that plane had malfunctioned and crashed, they would have been able to find some debris within 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time.
With the last contact.
I agree with you. I know there's 26 countries searching, and I know, George, that the Indian Ocean and the space that they're looking in is 6 times the landmass, if you will, of the United States of America. But, George, in this day and age, where we have the NSA listening to you and I right now, monitoring everything we say, all the cameras that pick up on everything that everybody does, it's hard for me to believe that a plane could go down with all the debris, etc., and not be able to find it.
Yeah, that it just doesn't add up.
Well, I appreciate.
On the brighter note, if I may, Friday night, we had the Youth for Liberty from Declo.
Yes.
Oakley and Rupert. We had our, every 3 months we all get together. And we went over to the Rupert Police Department, James Wardle and Roxanne Diamond and the officer catered to those young people. And then we went to Beverage Etc. And Beverage Etc. picked up a big portion of the tab.
Oh, that's
nice.
It was
awesome. The kids shined. And I want to say a very special thank you to Beverage Etc. and Rupert PD.
Well, very well stated, my friend, and congratulations to your young people. You're doing a great job with them, George. God bless you. Thanks for your call.
You bet. Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
thank you. Those are great kids. And George has put a lot of time and effort into it with a lot of other people, too. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome. I'll take your next call right after Michael Rogers' weather. Stand by. Our weather brought to you this hour by Butte Irrigation, 116 South and 600 west of Paul, and a new location just a little bit north of Kimberly, right there at Red Cap Corner on Kimberly Road. They'll get you wet. Believe me, they've got all your irrigation needs. They carry the complete lines of both the Senninger and Nelson sprinklers, and they've got that new Nelson Purple Plate Orbiter that offers a smaller droplet that's gentle on the ground. It will do the job irrigating your crops. Check it out today, and they've got all your spring parts needs too. At Butte Irrigation, Paul and Kimberly, they will get you wet. Here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It's going to be very windy today. Serious. That's to play around with. You could see wind gusts up to possibly 60 miles an hour today. Right now, sustained 35 to 50. It's going to continue this way, along with rain for much of the day and also for tonight. The winds will taper off tomorrow, where it will be sunny and a daytime high right around the upper 50s. Daytime high today in the upper 50s also. But by the same token, our weather story for today is wind, and it is not fooling around. Be careful today and have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Brought to you this hour by Butte Irrigation in Paul and Kimberly. They will get you wet. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I agree with you in the fact that as soon as I heard that they manually shut those transponders down, then I suspect, it's got to be a hijack deal, and they had enough. Now they're saying they had enough fuel to go for 7 hours.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
They could easily get to a lot of places in 7 hours.
Well, at Adrian,
I don't think the plane went down at all.
Well, Adrian, when you figure, what is that plane's top speed? I think it's 600 miles an hour top speed on that plane. Let's say that they backed off on their speed to save fuel, and they had 7 hours of fuel, 7 and 3,500 miles, and from where they were, they could have easily made Pakistan. They could have easily made any other Middle Eastern country on a runway sufficient enough to land this. I'm really questioning, and again, I hope I'm wrong. I'm really questioning that they remained on a west or southwesterly course to crash in the absolutely huge Indian Ocean.
Yeah, I do too. I think that this thing was hijacked, and when you talk about the passengers and the feeling for the families, KAL 007 in 1983, that one was, there was never been any closure for any of those family members.
That's right.
Never. And they supposedly, it was shot down. I heard that last week. It was shot down, no survivors. They never found any wreckage. And so, a little bit of cabin debris, but that they gathered up, but there was no wreckage from a jumbo jet. And yet they went off of radar at 1,000 feet, and they were landing on Sakhalin Island. And the Times News, the headline that morning was they were negotiating for release of the passengers.
Yeah.
But Larry McDonald of the John Birch Society was on there, and he was a big thorn in their side. And they went after him, and they got him.
Adrian, when you look at a plane of that size, a 777 Boeing jetliner, this is a big dude. And you look at Obama's comments in the past of saying, well, I've got Al-Qaeda on the run, and Al-Qaeda is not anything like it used to be. We've diminished their power. We have put a stranglehold on what they can do. That is as bogus can be. Right now, Adrian, my fear is that if this is an Al-Qaeda event, and if they have the plane, and what they could do with it, and the devastation they could wreak, Believe me, Al-Qaeda is not on the run. We may be.
Yeah, unfortunately, the latest out there is that the ultimate sanction against Putin is the fact that Obama took Putin off his Facebook friends list. That's about the kind of sanctions that we've had thus far, as far as our reaction to what's happened there in Ukraine and so forth. I mean, we basically got a paper tiger for a president, and he's not even a paper tiger.
Wouldn't you?
Unbelievable. They realize that. Well, unfortunately, he's done everything he can to help our enemies in more ways than one, and you know that, and I do too.
Wouldn't you agree, short answer on this because I got to run and take some more calls, but wouldn't you agree that this afternoon, honestly, this afternoon by 5 o'clock, we may see the United States backed into a corner over this Crimean situation with a phony vote to go to the Russian Empire? And also, we may see a fair and honest attempt at more of Putin getting into the Ukraine. And honestly, what's the United States going to do? What are we possibly going to do to stop this? In my opinion, there is nothing.
Putin holds all the aces, and we've got nothing. We've got a busted hand.
Yeah.
It's just, we've been playing. Putin knows that we're weak. We got a president that's inept and won't do anything other than maybe take him off his Facebook page, friend, and that's about as far as we can go.
I agree. I got to run.
And then say, put boots on the ground. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Hope that we don't make that big decision.
I agree.
That decision.
I agree.
Then we're really into big trouble.
I agree. Adrian, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Really.
Thank you. Man, there is just so much going on in the world. And, I'm going to go back to a 4-letter word, a very good 4-letter word. We need to pray. We need to pray. I absolutely am really uttering that as a method of solving the problems. Pray and prayer. And then I look down and I find out more about Pastor Saeed Abadani. And I've had his wife, Nagme, on this program. I've had the Sekulow family, their attorneys, on this program. And the man is being chained to a wall, and he's being beaten. And the question is why? Here's something to think about, folks. At Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, our soldiers, if they touched a Muslim Quran, there was an outrage. There was an outcry. Oh my goodness, the Muslims were mad all over the world because the infidels touched the Quran. But they can chain a Christian minister to a wall and beat him. And nobody does anything. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How are you this morning, Zeb?
Mad?
Yeah. My friends and I was talking a little bit this weekend about that jet getting hijacked. And one of my buddies brought up a pretty good point. Said, if that did get hijacked and they made it over to land someplace, they've basically got 250 people of slave labor.
Yep.
They can force them people to do anything they want, and all they're holding over them is their freedom and their lives.
Well,
90% of them guys aren't going to be John Wayne and say, well, just go ahead and kill me then.
Yeah, that's right. That's
you're
right.
You're not going to do that. You're going to try, and you're going to think about your families, and you're going to try and do everything possible to stay alive as long as possible.
You also...
That means that you're loading nuclear explosives onto that jet, repainting it, putting new numbers on it, or any other combination of things. You're going to do it.
Well, with a hostage situation, if it does go to that, and if it is there already, you also have the absolute demanding for money and ransom, and you've got all these other very, very treacherous means of obtaining more money and holding these families at ransom, and the heartbreak and the turmoil. I mean, this is absolutely one of the most heinous acts, and we don't really know the answers, and that's what spooks me more than anything. 9 days in this world today where they know if you get up and go to the bathroom and we can't find a 777 Boeing jetliner?
Oh, it's all a crock.
Well, I appreciate your call. Thank you, sir, very much. God bless. Caller, I'll be right there. I've got to get this in real quick. Great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Oh, my goodness, they've got all the tires on sale, like the great Ultra Z900, their best all-season touring tire, more tread life, 20% more, outstanding wet and dry traction, quieter riding tire. Oh, my goodness, it's on sale. They've got all the tires on sale. They've got the best in brake service, the best, and all the batteries are on sale. Shocks and struts, front-end alignments, and custom wheels. What are you waiting for? Get in today to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 1 minute, real fast. Go.
Yeah, Zeb, the reason they went to 25,000 feet, they depressurized the cabin. The people all went to sleep and died. And that's how they got rid of any competition there.
Well, of course, now, that's a speculative viewpoint, and we all have to say that everything we say today is speculation because we don't know.
That's right, but that's about as good a reason as any for him to go up to above 25,000 feet. And then bring it back down again.
Well, actually, wait a minute. The numbers are wrong. Up to 45,000 feet and then come back down to cruising altitude and even below. I mean, the plane went way up to 45,000, which it should never fly at. Their peak is 35,000. And so there's a lot of questions, and I agree with you. Nobody knows, but your theory is as good as the next man's. I got to run to the news. Thank you for your call. Thank you very much. I will be back in 6 minutes. Frosty Woldridge, and we're going to discuss this a little further along with some other stories in 6 minutes. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back. Oh, my. It's windy, and it's colder outside. What is the temperature outside right now? Let me take a look here real quick and see what I've got here on my trusty little weather forecast. 42. No wonder there's a little bit of snow up in the South Hills. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 of them, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and nice people at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
always at your disposal. That is 100% the truth. Whether you need a weekly trash collection, get on their route service, whether you need porta potties for a special event, whatever your needs are, whether you need a great big dumpster, they've got them in various sizes, whether you need one of the new Go Minis portable storage units, call them. Call them right now at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Also, ladies and gentlemen, let's not forget some dear, dear friends of ours that have helped us so much over the years and help us with Lunch Bunch and other activities going on around the Magic Valley. Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward, the owner-manager, and his staff. I've said this so many times, always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity, serving you and your families, providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. Very important words, support and comfort. Please call them today for all your questions to be answered. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Well, it's Monday, and over the mountains and through the woods to Frosty's house we go, and my dear, dear friend Frosty Woldridge, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Happy middle of March.
Actually, I was going to introduce you today on St. Patrick's Day as Frosty Old Woldridge.
The leprechaun boy.
Yeah. I want to get.
The parade in Denver, and the leprechauns were jumping all over the place.
Oh, I bet they were.
It was a fun time, and of course, I have these two new Irish friends from Dublin, Ireland, that rode part way across the country with me last summer. So I have a new appreciation for the Irish. They like to drink a lot of beer, and they are funny as funny can be. So it was a great time, and I enjoy the Irish tremendously.
Oh my! Hey, Frosty, I want to get right into it this morning because we got so much to catch up on. I want you to comment on the Hispanic man that was turned over inside a canal, and now he is going to be suing the fire department because he thinks they didn't get him out of there quick enough. $500,000 lawsuit. Surely you've heard about this story.
Yes, I saw the interview on it this morning on one of the radio shows here in Denver, and the interviewer was asking the lawyer, well, isn't this guy an illegal, undocumented migrant? And he says, well, that has no bearing whatsoever. Well, please answer the question. And, of course, she finally stated that it has been shown and it is proven that he is an illegal alien. And he said this has no bearing on this civil case. And it is just amazing, the brazenness of these immigration lawyers. I mean, they just make a fortune, and of course we get to pay for it. And the man is an illegal alien, and he is going to continue to see if he can get this $500,000. But I want most Americans don't understand. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Illegal aliens, they kill, they rape, they burglarize across this country, and they are literally well over half of the prison group in states like California and in Texas and in Los Angeles. They just have a propensity for stealing and raping and burglarizing and shoplifting and you name it. And for those of you who don't know this, we have $25 million a day is stolen through shoplifting out of stores across the United States, virtually all of it because of these immigrants that come from countries that steal. And you have to realize Mexico is a third world country, and corruption is a mechanism by which a third world country operates. It's just endemic. It's systemic into the people there. And so when they come north, the easy pickings in a store, it's so easy to shoplift, it's not even funny. And so $25 million a year stolen. And when it comes to the courts, and we have to pay for the public defenders and et cetera, we also get to pay for that. And as I've said in the past, $346 billion per year across 15 federal agencies is paid out to illegal aliens and their children, and food and medical and all the other costs. And so it is just an ongoing. So the thing here in Denver is just part of it.
You know, the thing that gripes me the worst about this kind of a story is this. Whether the man was an illegal alien or not, he could have been a lawyer in downtown Denver. It doesn't make any difference to me. The fire department and the rescuers saved his life. They risked theirs, and they saved his life. And for the attorney to say something so frivolous as, oh, yes, he was thankful because those divers did have a major role to play in saving his life that day, but that doesn't negate the fact that a mistake may have been made. You know something, Frosty? I put a lot of the blame on legal counsel, the lawyers. This lawyer should be taken out behind the barn and just have a good personality adjustment with a good whooping for taking this case and trying to create the bad guys out of the fire department that saved this person's life. I'm furious about this.
Well, I am too. You know, and again, the tragedy that we're facing here, and I want to read this short quote again for everyone that doesn't understand what we're facing. And this quote provides the most ominous statement for America and other Western countries in the 21st century as they continue mass immigration from cultures and religions around the third world. Here it is. Immigrants devoted to their own cultures and religions are not influenced by the secular, politically correct facade that dominates academia, news media, entertainment, education, religious, and political thinking today, said the James Walsh, former Associate General Counsel of the United States Immigration and Naturalization Service. Quote, They claim the right not to assimilate. And the day is coming when the question will be, how can the United States regulate the defiantly unassimilated cultures, religions, and mores of foreign lands? Such immigrants say their traditions trump the U.S. legal system. Balkanization of the United States has begun, unquote. Does that not sum it up, where you have somebody, right, and I just wrote a piece for you all who want to go to newswithviews.com or beforeitsnews.com or freedomsphoenix.com, and I wrote a piece called Muslims Demanding Their Own Sharia Patrols in Michigan. Right now in Dearborn, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, they are now so many Muslims, 400,000 of them, that they are demanding Sharia laws so that the Sharia-compliant goon squads can go in and beat up anybody that is kissing in the park, for heaven's sakes. That's what they want. They want they want papers taken out of the stores that have anything to do with showing the human body off, showing a girl like Health Magazine in a bikini. This is what we're facing. And this thing in Denver right now is simply a tip of the iceberg. Go read the article that I wrote on the Muslims demanding their own Sharia patrols in Michigan. This is going to become more and more happening in our country as these immigrants continue to flood into our country.
So wait a minute, my dear friend. Now you're on a subject that you really got my deodorant wore off. I'm sweating like a fat lady at a dance on Saturday night right now because you made me really upset. I absolutely am so concerned as to the naivete of America, with the Muslims coming in and the Muslims overseas, and when they say with the leading Iranian Ayatollah that we will behead Western leaders and we will kill all the infidels and raise the flag of Islam in all four corners of the world, why are we being so doggone dumb and naive in this country?
It's because we just don't understand the aggressiveness and the power of this particular religion. Here, just I think it was in October, a 22-year-old American college student walked into a Muslim no-go zone in London. Now, you all have to understand, London has 2.5 million Muslims, and in London, England, right now is two different cities. It's the Muslim sector and the British sector. And when he walked into this no-go zone, he suffered a beating by a Sharia-compliant goon squad so horrible that he required reconstruction of his face. What was his crime? He was carrying a bottle of beer.
Oh, boy.
And then here's another one. Two Muslims jumped a British Army trooper in London a year ago on a main street and beheaded him with machetes in front of a stunned shopper. This kind of behavior remains normal in Islamic countries. In the past 6 months in Iraq, 60 to 70 people get slaughtered monthly from suicide bombers and goon squads. That's in their own country. So if you look back at this quote by, James Walsh, the former Associate Consul General, this is what's going on. And, of course, I've been all over Detroit. I already know what's coming. I've already seen it. Chicago's the same way. Fremont, California is virtually a Muslim stronghold. The Chinese have taken over Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, but they've also taken over cities along the West Coast. There's nothing but Chinese, and they speak nothing but Chinese, and they go to school where you only have Chinese. I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, we are fracturing and fragmenting our country, but out of all of them, the Chinese are quiet, the Koreans are nice, the Vietnamese are just great. The Asians coming in are really kind of getting with the American way of life, but I guarantee you this, the Muslims never assimilate into a host country. You can look all over Europe right now, and the story is, I actually interviewed a Norwegian saying, we can't, and we no longer have a free country in Norway, because Norway now, if you say anything about Muslims, you will be taken down to the local police station, questioned, you'll get a dossier on you, and they literally will shut you up. There is no more free speech in Norway right now, and the same thing's happening in many other countries there in Europe.
And Frosty, just this morning, as a matter of fact, I received from a friend of mine that writes for the Daily Caller, Neil Monroe, a story that was sent from out of Washington, D.C. this morning. That headline was, Obama eyes even less immigration enforcement and seeks to reduce the deportation of illegals, and they said the reduction could be as high as 50%. They're absolutely going to be doing nothing in this administration.
Well, they didn't do anything in the last administration either, essentially, in the administration before that. That's why we've got 20 million illegal aliens in this country. And what is sickening to me is Mark Udall, and I went into his office and explained to his staff last March that any kind of an amnesty would allow 100 million immigrants to be imported into this country by 2050. That's 36 years from now.
Yeah.
And and I said, you need to reduce all immigration to less than 100,000 per year instead of 100,000 per month. And instead, he supported and voted for the bill 744 that jumps immigration legally from 1 million per year to 2 million a year, which means it's well over 200,000 per month. And so anyway, the onslaught is coming. And he just wrote a big commentary in the Denver Post about we got to have this amnesty, and we got to have all this, we got to help all these people come here, and they can all make a better contribution to the country. He doesn't talk about the $25 million or press of stolen goods every day in this country from all these people that are stealing and shoplifting. He doesn't talk about the schools are being completely shredded with the Spanish language, with the Arabic language, with all these people that have literally no intellectual horsepower whatsoever. He doesn't even put down the fact that we're being fragmented culturally and linguistically. So, until the American people wake up and start voting these morons out of office, and Udall and Bennett are troglodytes, and they stop, they get rid of somebody like, Hatch or Schumer or John McCain or Boxer or Feinstein, and every senator and House rep that's not representing our country, we are going to get what we're apathetic about, and we're going to get it in spades.
Stop for a minute there. Before we run too much further ahead, I want you to amplify a little bit. You talked to me the morning after you were in Udall's office, and basically they just shined you on. They basically welcomed you in one door and pushed you right out the other. They really didn't care about what you had to say or how you wanted to say it, did they?
That's correct. As a matter of fact, I had a half hour with them, and I had got it all squared away. And at exactly 19 after my presentation, this is a scientific presentation with graphs and everything, the head of the office came in, a lady stuck her nose, she says, "Oh, Brendan, you have got a phone call, and we've got to take it. You've got to take it." I said, "Well, I'll wait for you after the..." "No, you can't wait." "Well, I'll come back." "No, you can't come back. This is only one presentation." And they ushered me out of the office 20 minutes into my presentation, cut off my last 10 minutes. And he said, "Well, do you understand? This is 100. And he said, "Oh, I understand. And we certainly will talk to Mr. Udall about that." And I was ushered out of the office, and that was exactly what happened. They did not want to hear what I had to say because it had science, and it was absolutely the facts, and they would not listen to it. And, of course, as you know, Udall and Bennett both voted for 744, and it passed out of the Senate last year, and now it's haggling in the House of Representatives.
So what do we do? You're a glaring example. You're a glaring example of trying to do something on behalf of the populace, trying to bring attention to a fact that we have got a real problem with illegal immigration. And our people that work for us, our so-called senators and congressmen, shine you on. You've got a much easier going personality than I do. I would have raised holy heck before I left that office.
Well, I did. I was a little bit verbal. I'll tell you that. And so, but they still ushered me out. And what do you do? In fact, I got shouted down one time. I brought the same subject to the Lafayette, which is a city right next to me in Louisville there when I was living there. And the mayor said, "We've heard this before. We don't want to hear anything more." I said, "Listen here, ma'am." I said, "My grandfather served in World War I. My father served 27 years in the Marine Corps in World War II. And I served, my brother served." I said, "We fought for the right to stand up here with our 3 minutes. So you're going to shut up while I stand here and speak." And she shut down. I said, "If I come here every week with the same message, it's my right and my 3 minutes. So you will stand down, Mayor." Man, she was pissed. But by God, you will not crush me because I am an American citizen. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to make a difference, we now have 2.5 million members. But again, capsweb.org, capsweb.org. Join for free and start sending in your faxes when they ask you to. Encourage all your friends to join. NumbersUSA.org and, of course, FAIRUS.org. Those three organizations are going to give you a collective voice because, again, and I've said it many times before, if this 744 bill passes, your kids will be swimming in a massive population load of 138 million more people added to the United States. Idaho will be overrun. I'll bet you if this thing passes, Idaho will see another 2 to 3 to 4 million more people. That's because they're going to be flooding out of California, out of Texas, out of Colorado, out of Maryland, out of Georgia. They're going to be flooding out of the overpopulated states, and they're going to be heading into Idaho, certainly into North Dakota, into Montana, into Wyoming, because there's no other place to go in this country.
Absolutely.
Most people don't realize this. The East Coast is a giant beehive of traffic and smog and pollution and all the mess that it is. So do it for yourselves, do it for your children, but join those three organizations.
All right,
and do it for the future generations of our country. And just for our country, for our culture, for our language, for our way of life. Otherwise, we're going to lose it all.
All right, now here's the deal. We've got a caller with a question. Caller, I want a real short question. I've only got 3 minutes left. Go, fast, please.
Yes, Frosty, not long ago I was watching a thing on John Stoffel. He had 1,500 college students there, and they were talking about the conservative revolution. At CPAC last week, they have never had as many young active conservatives, and then the election down in Florida. Now, ultimately, this all comes back to the people waking up. What do you think about those things? And I'll hang up.
All right, good question, Randy. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Frosty, real quick.
Yeah, the CPAC, and I watched the CPAC, and of course, it was powerful, and we're starting to get an inkling. The conservatives in this country, we have got to get an understanding of what's really coming at this country, because the liberals, the Democrats, again, they are socialists. They could care less about our country. Obviously, they passed that 744 bill. Not one of the people that voted against it even talked or mentioned about the fact that it would add 100 million more immigrants, and that's why he voted it down. So it's got to be we, the conservatives of this country, the American citizens, not the hyphenated ones, but the American citizens who care about the future and our kids. I don't care if you're high school, I don't care if you're college. You have got to get involved, and there is an awakening here. It's because of your voice, Deb, and your interviews with the people that you interview. It's my voice out there. I write prolifically, and I will not stand down. I will stand up for my country, for my two boys, for my wife, my family, and my future children. That is what I'm going to do, and no one's going to shut me down, because this is America, this is our country. And so, yeah, the CPAC was a call to action, and thank goodness there was a bunch of them, and we need more.
Absolutely. Okay, now shifting gears on a positive note to wrap up the program. We did it for the last couple of years. I want your Final Four predictions, and I'll give you my Final Four predictions for March Madness, and we'll see who's going to ended up with the buying of a steak dinner.
Look, I've already eaten so much crow here. I'm not sure I can handle this emotionally. I've got your favorite steak knife, the Bell steak knife, at the honored place in the kitchen. And, of course, I use it to cut tofu, though.
No, but really, do you have a Final Four prediction that you think is going to make it all the way through March Madness starting this week?
No, I don't even have a clue. I absolutely don't have a clue. Of course, I'm hoping the Michigan State Spartans, which Bob Izzy was on the Parade magazine this weekend, and it was great to see his countenance.
All right,
I am at a loss at this point.
You are going to be shocked. You are going to be shocked, and you're going to be happy. Honestly, here are my Final Four: Florida, Oklahoma State, Wichita State, and your alma mater of Michigan State, I think, will make the Final Four.
Well, yeah, and I obviously, from my emotional standpoint, I would always, call the Spartans fourth, but I do think that they have a shot. I don't think they have a shot at going all the way. They don't have the horsepower, but it is exciting. So, yeah, thank you for that sympathy fourth call there that Michigan State's going to be in that Final Four.
God bless you, my friend. Very, very intriguing speech this morning. I appreciate it. God bless you. Talk to you next week on Monday. Thanks, Frosty.
Thank you, and God bless everyone listening to Zeb Bell at the Ranch. This is the voice of America, folks, and we have got to stand up. CPAC, young kids, everybody, and again, those three fantastic organizations. Please join and become a member. Thank you, Zeb.
Absolutely. God bless you. Thank you much. Ladies and gentlemen, Frosty Woolridge, Golden, Colorado. I appreciate him being on our program every Monday at 9:06. I want to give you a little warning right here. We are really getting hit with a storm, kind of a rain and snow sludge. Right now is really coming into the west side of the house with a severe wind, and all of a sudden, if we go, we're gone. It's not any fault of mine or the radio station. It's just the severe winds. We've had the lights flutter probably 8 or 9 times, so bear with us. Don't forget, for all your insurance needs, it's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Dean and Todd are always dedicated and responsive to your needs. And I'm telling you, folks, don't put this on the back burner and say, well, we'll take care of it next week. Well, we forgot. We'll take care of it next week. No, do it now. Call them at 436-4424. And that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Hey, there's a rip and good sale going to happen this week on Thursday, the 20th, and it's the Don Taylor Farms auction. Starts at 10:30 in the morning on Thursday, 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert. This is going to be one fantastic farm sale managed by Musser Brothers Auction and Real Estate. Randy Musser, our old buddy. For more information, call him at 733-8700, and they're going to have live simulcast bidding available too. Don't forget Don Taylor Farms auction this coming Thursday at 10:30, the 20th. They're going to have tractors, balers, swathers, rakes, grain equipment, semi-tractors, loaders and backhoes, 10-wheeler trucks, beat equipment. This is a sale you do not want to miss. Managed by Musser Brothers Auction Service, and that's going to be the Don Taylor Farms auction coming up this Thursday, the 20th at 10:30. At 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert. Don't you miss it. Going to be a good one. In just a moment, we're going to have a lady on with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and we're looking forward to talking to her and finding out what's going on with the Alliance Defending Freedom for this week. But first and foremost, I also want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You know, they are celebrating their great big 67th anniversary. And, of course, with any celebration of an anniversary, you are going to be the recipient of a lot of special prices and just all kinds of great specials on their carpeting and, of course, their bedroom sets, their mattresses, all the vinyl flooring materials, all the sofas and love seats and the recliners. You'd better check it out. 67th anniversary spectacular with our dear friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They know about the beautification and the comfort of your home. Let's go to the phone lines right now and say good morning to a lovely young lady, and that's Carrie Kupek. I hope I said the name right. Good morning, Carrie. How are you today?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's nice to have. This is the first time you've been on my program, I believe, and give us. Pardon me.
I was saying, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
All right. Give us a little background about you and your job and how you got started with Alliance Defending Freedom.
Well, I'm currently the Legal Communications Director here at Alliance Defending Freedom, and before that, I was serving as a clerk to a Virginia State Appellate Judge in Virginia, and before that, working in the nonprofit sector for a little while.
Okay, Carrie, one of the subjects we were going to talk about this morning is what happened with Elaine Photography. Their story is well known all over the country. Give us a little synopsis of the problem with Elaine Photography, so that my audience that is unaware, they can be brought up to speed.
Sure. Elaine Photography is an extremely important case. for really everyone in America, and that's because this is a situation that some of your audience may be aware of, and this was the woman, a young woman, who was a photographer in New Mexico, and she owned a small little photography business, and a same-sex couple came to her and asked her to photograph their commitment ceremony, and Elaine politely declined, offered other services such as taking portraits and things like that. But because Elaine is a devout Christian, she believes that marriage is defined as one man and one woman, and just simply is nothing else other than that. And so she draws the line there, but will offer her services for a number of other kinds of things. And in addition to marriage, she also refuses to take violent images. She doesn't do nude photography, and these are all because of her faith.
Mm-hmm. No.
Those are the facts of the actual situation. Then what ended up happening was the couple went on. They got another photographer who was more than happy to do their ceremony. They got a good price. The couple was appreciative of that photographer's work. However, they then turned around and sued Elaine for discrimination and went all the way up to the New Mexico Supreme Court. And shockingly, the New Mexico Supreme Court ruled against Elaine and said that because it didn't matter about her religious beliefs, that the government and the court had the power to come and say, you must do this, regardless of how much it offends you, regardless of how much it's violating your conscience and your beliefs. And so we here at Alliance Defending Freedom have now asked the Supreme Court of the United States to review this case and take another look at the situation, and we're expecting to hear a response as to whether or not they're going to take the case next week.
All right. Now, Carrie, let me throw in some points of interest here and have you respond to these. Sure. This case absolutely made me furious that they would go after this photographer, a private business that has a right to say, I think, yes or no on anything that they want to. I believe the sign on the door that says, we reserve the right to refuse service, no shirt, no shoes, no whatever. But that being said, this is just nothing more than the gay and lesbian agenda. They are going to get you. They're going to come after you. They're going to demonize you. They're going to denigrate you, and they are going to absolutely run you out of business if you don't go along with their agenda. And I'm going to stand behind that. What are your thoughts?
Well, and I understand what you're saying, but I would even take a step even further back than that and say, the even bigger picture here is the fact that the government is taking really a stance in cases like this and saying, you know what, we can come in and we can force you to violate your religious beliefs. And so whether right now, obviously it's, a lot of it has to do with the homosexual marriage issue. But in 20 years from now, that may not be the issue. It may be something else. But once the door is open for the government to come in and say, we don't care about your First Amendment freedoms, whether it's your freedom of speech, whether it's your freedom of religion. We can come in and force you to send our message. We can come in and force you to say whatever it is we want to say. I mean, that's a big problem. That's very dangerous, and that's something that's going to affect all of us. I mean, not just now, but this is a new shift for our country, and it's a very concerning one.
Absolutely. And, this is, and I've said this on my program many, many times, Carrie, and again, you might not agree with the verbiage here, but this is the way I feel. I'm very blunt. The homosexual agenda, the gay, lesbian, and transgender agenda is to absolutely get involved in everything and absolutely demand that they have special rights and demand that they're in the forefront on everything. Look what happened today in New York City with the St. Patrick's Day parade. Many sponsors pulled out of the parade, including Guinness Beer and many others, because the gay and lesbian and transgender agenda demanded to be in the parade and sexualize the parade. And I say kudos to the sponsors for leaving and not being a part of that event.
Well, what's interesting, too, is that a number of years ago, and as a point of interest, my great-uncle was the Grand Marshal of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in New York City a number of years ago. So it's an event that I hold near and dear to my heart. And what's also interesting is that a number of years ago in Massachusetts, and this is a case that it began in Massachusetts and went up all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, the Supreme Court said there that a parade of that kind doesn't have to promote a message against its will, against the beliefs of the parade sponsors and owners. So as far as it's going in New York City today, it's interesting because the Supreme Court has said, you know what? These parades, they don't have to promote messages that are at odds with their beliefs. So it's very interesting.
You know, Carrie, I'm really worried that the demise of free speech in this country and the demise of our being able to say yes and no as private business people. I own my own small private business, and the government's going to be able to come in and tell me how I have to be regulated and what I have to do, who I have to hire, how I have to do the business. I might as well be out of business because I'm not going to demean or belittle my goals in life and also my beliefs. And I think in this case with the lane photography, once the government steps in and says you will or we'll run you out of business, we've lost our rights of that Constitution.
And you know, you have every right to be concerned, and everybody should share this concern because I mean it's true. I mean, once the government can come in and say, you know, we can force you to be our messenger, to be kind of our conscripted servant for whatever, you know, ideology it is that we're promoting, everybody loses. And what's ironic is that, you know, there's a lot of talk, as we all know, about our economy and the state of, our economy in this country. And this is not helping businesses. This is hurting them because once you tell a business owner you have to check your religious beliefs at the door when you go to work, I mean, that you run into a big problem there. You're going to drive a lot of business owners who contribute to the local economy, who contribute to jobs for their neighbors. You're going to drive them away. I mean, this is not supporting or helping business. It's hurting it. And I'd also like to make the distinction. This is something we're not talking about generic product exchange here. We're not talking about going to your local hardware store to buy a can of paint and saying, oh, you know what, you can't come in here and buy paint because of, you know, fill in the blank reason. We're talking about, you know, creative artists, for the journalists, for the reporters, for the photographers, for people like that who, when they create work, it's more than just generic product exchange. This is putting their stamp of approval. They're essentially endorsing whatever it is they're creating, and that's a very reasonable belief to have. It's certainly how many Americans feel, and so for the government to completely throw that out the window is crazy, and it's concerning and it's dangerous and something that every American really, really needs to be concerned about.
Well, and you know, Carrie, this is a little crass in the way I say this, but I mean this. If it were me owning that photography company and I was forced and coerced to shooting that wedding that I don't believe in, I would have never taken the lens cap off, and after everything is said and done, I would have just said, oops, and let it go.
Right. Well, and it's funny, and what you're alluding to there is something that, just as an aside, what's interesting to me is that if I was getting married, just, you know, a heterosexual marriage, and there was a photographer who just didn't agree with my stance on things. You know, obviously I work for Alliance Defending Freedom, and there's a very strong possibility that people may not, you know, like what we stand for or agree with us, and they don't want to, you know, say, shoot my wedding, and they tell me, you know what, I really don't agree with this, so I just can't in good conscience do it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally would want an artist, a photographer, who is going to celebrate my day, who wants to do, you know, the best job they can do. And the reality is, for these same-sex couples, there are plenty of photographers who are more than willing to do these shoots, you know, to give them their business. And so it's really what's most problematic here is that there's no balance. It's either all or nothing, and the First Amendment guarantees balance in the interest of both parties, both the government and the individuals. So when the government steps in and tells the individual, you must send this message that we tell you have to, it becomes all government and no citizen, and that's a real problem.
Yeah, and right now, this is one of many stories of where the government involvement and intrusion in business is taking over, and it's an agenda. I mean, it's absolutely, I think, an agenda against free enterprise and the running of a free private business. Like I said, this is not the only story that you have that you can relate to this morning.
Mm-hmm. And actually and I'm glad you just brought that up, because, for instance, another well-known one that's going through the court system right now is Arlene Flowers up in Washington State. And there you have this this woman who has been in the florist business for years and years and years, and she provides flowers for all kinds of events and all kinds of situations, and she actually employs some people who identify as homosexual, and she also she was serving this one couple, the same-sex couple, actually, for I believe it was 9 years. They were her customers, and then they asked her to provide flowers for a same-sex ceremony, and she drew the line there. Now, meanwhile, she'd been providing flowers to them for 9 years, but she said, I'm a Christian. This is what I believe. I'm sorry, I need to draw the line in marriage. That's my policy, in general. And the couple, despite being her loyal customers for 9 years, turn around and they're suing her. And now, Arlene's really on the front lines of all this up there. And, she refuses to cave to the government forcing her to send a message against her will. And that's her right. That she has her First Amendment freedoms just like we all do. And she should be standing strong.
Though, Carrie, I'll go this step further. It's not just the lawsuits against, from the homosexuals on their agenda against a photography company. It's not against a floral company. It's also against Christianity in general. That's why they're using their agenda, because whether it's taking pictures of a wedding or furnishing flowers for a wedding, doesn't make any difference. Their agenda is to absolutely desecrate and denigrate Christianity, and I'm going to stand behind that statement.
Well, I think it's because Christianity, the Bible is clear that marriage is one man and one woman, and since this homosexual marriage issue has become so huge in our country, it's kind of inevitable or obvious that this is what it's going to be right now, just because Christianity, obviously, and the Bible takes such a strong stance. So when these Christian business owners and the people that are at issue that we're discussing are taking stances, they're just echoing the words of the Bible. But like I said, taking it one step further, and I keep bringing it back to this just because it is a real concern of mine, it's the bigger issue is the government stepping in and forcing individuals to speak messages against their conscience, to speak messages against their religious beliefs. And if it's not the gay, marriage issue in 20 years, it's going to be something else. Because once the door is open, as history shows us, for the government to step in and do something like this, there is no telling what the government will be able to step in and force an individual to do next. So for someone, say, who falls on the side, says, who cares about homosexual marriage? And there are a lot of people like that. Well, that's how they feel. They may feel that now, but in 20 years, we don't know what the government is going to be forcing an individual to say or do.
Absolutely.
And that's why every American, regardless of where they fall on this issue, needs to be deeply concerned, because First Amendment rights, especially of religion and speech, are in a real bad situation.
Absolutely.
And I really hope that everyone's understanding the big picture on that one.
Tell my audience, as we do every week at the conclusion of our segment, exactly how they can find out more about these cases and other cases with the Alliance Defending Freedom. How do they check it out?
Sure, you can go to our website, which is www.alliancedefendingfreedom.org. And then if you want to find out more details that just kind of give you more of a breakdown and some quotes from attorneys and things like that, we have our connected website is www.adfmedia.org. Those are the two best ways to find out what we're doing. And you can sign up for Alliance Alerts, which will give you a daily update on what's going on. And I really encourage your listeners to do so.
Legal Communications Director for the Alliance Defending Freedom, a very nice young lady, Carrie Kupek. You got to promise to come back, Carrie. I've enjoyed the conversation.
I'd love to. Thanks so much for talking with me. It's been great.
Thank you very, very much. God bless. Very nice lady, Carrie Kupek, with our friends at the Alliance Defending Freedom. And, I'm just livid about this kind of thing, that a gay, lesbian, and transgenders have an agenda. They have an agenda. And they're going after businesses, they're going after you, they're going after me, they're going after everybody that stands in their way to get what they want. They don't care about rights, they don't care about Christianity, they just want their agenda fulfilled. We're going to have more in just a few minutes, but right now it's time for the weather. And my gosh, that weather's nasty out there right now. My goodness sakes, and the weather this hour is being brought to you by our friends at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. I tell you what, purchase a firearm from Red's Trading Post and you receive training bucks. Now, what are training bucks? Well, they're for both LMS defense and Shaw shooting to use in their rifle and pistol training courses. Absolutely very worthwhile. For the best of guns, ammo, and all the accessories, it's Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls, 733-3546. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It's going to be very windy today. Serious. That's to play around with. You could see wind gusts up to possibly 60 miles an hour today. Right now, sustained 35 to 50. It's going to continue this way, along with rain for much of the day and also for tonight. The winds will taper off tomorrow, where it will be sunny and a daytime high right around the upper 50s. Daytime high today in the upper 50s also. But by the same token, our weather story for today is wind, and it is not fooling around. Be careful today and have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you this hour, MichaelRogersWeather.com by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. For the best of guns, ammo, and the accessories, Red's Trading Post. We haven't had a chance to speak hardly at all to Gina this morning. How you doing, Gina?
I am doing well. I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update that the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Twin Falls has been canceled.
Oh, darn. There goes Mr. Big Slice.
Yeah, Mr. Big Slice would have been blown away. Also, a semi-truck had tipped over just off Highway 50. I think it was just south of the Hanson Bridge.
Wow.
So be careful if you're out there driving.
Ooh, and you know something? Right there, that Hanson Bridge, I don't like to go across any bridges.
Oh, me neither.
As a matter of fact, what I do, and people have ridden with me, and they look at me out of the corner of their eye like, are you crazy? When I get ready to cross either the Prime Bridge or the Hanson Bridge, I put my foot to the floor. I'm getting across that bridge in the shortest time possible. I don't care if I exceed the speed limit. We're going across that bridge. I hate bridges.
You know, I'm the same way. And when the winds kick up like this, it is not uncommon, as has happened in our past history, that a semi has been tipped over the bridges.
Oh, yeah. Well, 2 years ago, Deanna and I were coming back, and I had hauled a horse over to Gooding, okay? And I've got an aluminum trailer, and we were coming back, and it was empty, and we're going across the Hanson Bridge, and I mean, the wind was really sailing, and all of a sudden, I could just feel my trailer being lifted up and floating in the air. I thought it was going to go over. I really did. We were going across the Hanson Bridge, and to be honest with you, that's as scared as I've ever been.
Yeah, just please be careful if you're out there driving today, because this wind is nothing to be messing with. And so if you happen to be in a big rig, you're traveling around, you can get to one of the local truck stops, please do so, because it's a high wind advisory expected to last through 6 o'clock tonight.
The guardrails, like at the Hanson... No, the guardrails, like at the Hanson Bridge, they need to be at least 50 feet high.
Yeah, I think so, too. You know, I don't like going across the bridges, especially with this high wind, and I'm like you, I'll put the pedal to the metal, just to, you know, the quicker that I can get over it, the better. I hate bridges. And I think specifically the Hanson Bridge and the Prime Bridge, because, baby, that's a long way down.
Oh, but the bridge that, I've said this story before on the air, the bridge that absolutely petrifies me, and I will never cross it again, is the bridge between Washington and Oregon by Hood River. It's the bridge where it has all the holes in the floor, you know, the metal with the grated metal. And the side rails are probably at the very most 3 feet high. And I pulled a horse trailer across there that one time in the wind, and I'll guarantee you I absolutely got on the other side and had to go change my clothes. I was a nervous wreck.
I hate bridges like that. You've got a phone call.
All right.
Quick.
I'll be back with more in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, you're talking about that bridge going into Twin Falls, right?
Well, the one at Hanson and the Perrine. I'm scared of both of them.
Well, they're great bridges. Did you ever go across one that was a cable bridge?
Not in a vehicle. No, I haven't.
Yeah, it used to be a cable bridge across there.
Where?
boy, was it fun, across to Twin Falls.
The original, original bridge was a cable bridge.
Yeah, the original. Okay, no. No, I'll tell you something. Bridges, absolutely. I don't care if it's a bridge that is absolutely infallible. I don't care if it's a brand new bridge. I don't care if it's got side rails on it, like I was jesting a moment ago, 50 feet high. I hate bridges.
But I'm telling you, you missed an experience of your life crossing that cable.
No, Alias, I did not miss an experience of my life. No, I did not. You're 100% wrong.
Because I crossed it.
No, thank you. God bless you for your call, man. You know, Gina, that bridge I'm talking about between Hood River and Washington, and it's, what is it, about 2 miles across there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll guarantee I had a dually pickup at the time and a horse trailer, and I'll guarantee you I froze. And Deanne had to just literally sit there and go, okay, it's okay, we're going to get off of this in just a minute. The day after I finally got off that bridge, a truck did go over, and I don't think they ever did find the driver.
Really?
Yeah, blew off that bridge.
Yeah, so just be careful of the wind today, people. Because we don't want to be reporting on anybody going over any bridges.
When I see a bridge at a zoo and I have to walk across the bridge, I don't like to do it.
I have never walked across the Prime Bridge, and here's why. Because it makes you look down, and you know, on the Great Walkway, you can look down and you can see all the way down. I don't like that. It makes my feet feel funny. Kind of like walking across the Dorshak Dam Bridge. I won't do it because you can see all the way down.
Yeah, but I've got vertigo. Do you have vertigo?
Yeah, and it makes me feel funny and weird, and so I don't.
Do you realize if this was a Old West and the Indians are chasing you and I, and we come up to the edge of the canyon and we can get to safety by crossing the bridge with our horses? I'm fighting the Indians. I'm staying on my side.
Exactly. I'll climb down. I will whatever, but bridges freak me out. They always have, heights in general, and I think that's part of the reason with, especially the Prime Bridge and the Hanson Bridge, is because it's a long way down, and so I just have an issue.
And you see these people that are these parachute jumpers, they get up on the railing and they're standing there, and the sweat is just pouring down my forehead and my arms and my legs and whatever else, and I'm sitting there going, my God, these people are nuts!
Yeah, no, I will not jump out of a perfectly good airplane, and I'm not jumping off a bridge. Sorry, it ain't happening.
Well, you know, you're what, 500 feet in the air right there at the Prime Bridge? 500 feet. 500 feet! Keep saying that to yourself as you're standing on solid land.
Exactly. No, I just, even talking about it, honestly, is making my feet feel funny.
Well, it's making more than that. I can't take that kind of stuff.
I know.
Oh, my. All right, I got to close things out here for this hour and tell everybody about Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. That's where the fun is sold. Hey, snow check time. You want to order your 2015 snowmobile, put $500 down, and I'll tell you what, you can get your choice of the sled you want, the choice of the color, choice of your options. You better believe it. You better get in there to Let's Ride today. Well, you can't today. Today's Monday. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. Do it tomorrow. Tell them Zeb sent you. And don't forget all the ATVs are in there. Oh, my goodness. All the watercraft are coming in every day. Great parts and service department. You're going to love it. It's where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Let's ride. You stop in and see them tomorrow. Okay. Woo. Okay, we've got a lot of things coming up this next hour, too. We've got Marita Noon, favorite guest to have on the air, and she is an author, and she's gone face-to-face, nose-to-nose with all the legislators around the country, trying to get them to open up more energy for this great United States of America. She knows energy. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have Sandra Mitchell with the Idaho Recreation Council. She's going to be on the program, and we're certainly looking forward to having her come on the show and tell us about what's happening with the different closures. Real quick, I want to remind everybody, today's special at the Chadwick Sports Grill is corned beef and cabbage. Naturally, it's St. Patrick's Day. Holy cow, get on in there and enjoy it. The corned beef and cabbage is just $8.95. It's delicious. You're going to love it. 139 West Main in Burley. Take your favorite leprechaun and go on in there to the Chadwick Sports Grill and enjoy a great, great lunch. They've got all kinds of great specials there. Menu is delicious. I love the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. You're going to have a great time with all the memorabilia and the nice people right there at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Corned beef and cabbage in honor of St. Patrick's Day today. You stop in and say hello. Well, we're going to take a little break right now and turn it over to the big boys at ABC News, and then we're coming back, like I said, with Marita Noon and then also Sandra Mitchell. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Oh, my. The wind doth blow out there this morning. Woo, it's really going. The trees are bent over and the clouds are running past the window. Holy smokes. I want to remind you, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. Once again, a big reminder, this Thursday, March 20th at 10:30 in the morning, they're going to bring down the gavel and start the big sale at the Don Taylor Farms Auction, managed by Musser Brothers Auction and Real Estate Company. Live simulcast bidding available. Don't miss this sale. It's going to be a ripping good farm sale. 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert, and they're going to have tractors and balers and swathers and loaders and backhoes, semi-tractors. They're going to have stackers and many, many trailers, farm vehicles. This is a sale you have to be at. This is going to be a good one, managed by Musser Brothers Auction Company this Thursday, March 20th, 10:30 at 1200 North, 200 East of Rupert, Don Taylor Farms Auction. Don't you miss it. You know, there's a lot of people I have on this program every day, and people from New York and Washington and Texas and California, and this lovely lady is from New Mexico, and I just absolutely admire her tenacity to stand up in the face of all these dim-dems and talk about energy. I've got a lot of respect for her writings and her speaking ability. Let's welcome Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great, Marita Noon. Good morning, Marita. How are you?
Thank you, Zeb. Thank you for that nice introduction. I'm doing mighty fine.
Is the wind blowing down in New Mexico this morning? We're really getting some 60-mile-an-hour winds up here this morning.
Nothing like what you described in your introduction.
Well, Marita...
We had some breezes, but that's it. But we had snow over the weekend.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, we had a little bit of snow earlier this morning. Yesterday, at this time, I was sitting on my back porch in shirt sleeves having a cup of coffee, and needless to say, I'm not going out in shirt sleeves this morning. Marita, let me ask you a little bit to start things off this morning. The Democrats and the liberal left in this country are just absolutely tied at the neck to global warming, and the Democrats just in the last couple of days had a great big Democratic sleepover in the Senate where they got up and they were espousing that we're all going to die and we're all going to have crop failures and we're all going to be just absolutely in dire straits with global warming. We've got to do something. What is your response to the dim-dems?
Well, exactly what you said, the dim-dems, yes. 1 week ago, the Senate had what I like to call the Senate sleepover, where they spent the night on the Senate floor talking about climate change. And you have to kind of look at that and wonder, why are they doing that? Because all the recent polls show that the public does not care about climate change. When asked about what are the things that the government should be addressing, where should the government put their focus, climate change comes in dead last. So when you look at all the polls that show how much trouble the Senate is going to be in, the Democratic senators are going to be in this election cycle, you wonder why would they spend all night long when there's no bill on the floor, why would they spend all night long attempting to draw attention to an issue that nobody cares about in the midst of the Ukraine crisis,
in the midst of a downed airliner, in the midst of, lots of really big news stories. Why would they do something like this? And it all comes down to campaign cash for cooperative candidates who will toe the line on climate change.
Now, Marita, a question that has to come up right there is if the percentages of the American public don't even rank climate change or global warming in the top 10 things that they're worried about, are the Democrats that dim that they're going to put their horse to a wagon, that they can't pull anything come November? I mean, why wouldn't they go with the subject matter that you've talked about? Why wouldn't they talk about the economy? Why wouldn't they talk about other things that are more important for the American public? Why are they hitching their horse to a wagon they can't pull?
It all comes down to follow the money. In late February, billionaire hedge fund investor, Obama bundler and donor, pledged $100 million, $50 million of his own fortune, and another $50 million from that of his friends. $100 million he pledged to candidates who support the climate change crisis narrative. And he pledged that he will not support Democratic candidates who support the Keystone Pipeline. And so I view it that each of these Democratic senators who were there, and realize none of the Democratic senators who are in trouble this election cycle were there on the Senate floor. They did not participate because they realized this is a losing discussion for them. But those who are not in trouble or who are not up for re-election were there, I believe, dancing like the organ grinder's monkey, because Tom Steyer has offered $100 million in campaign cash, and these candidates want that campaign cash.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Marita, because nobody knows more about energy and the problems that we're going through right now than you do. You speak all over the United States. But now, there's only been 6% of the problem of bad air, etc., attributed to the United States. 6% of all the mess that's supposedly in the air. 6%. We're the cleanest emission country in the world, and yet they want to make more things are tougher for the American public. They want us to live in caves and burn buffalo dung. Why? Why are they so hell-bent on this thing?
Well, that's a really good question, and I wish I had a real answer for it. The only thing you can come up with is that these people are really anti-American. And when you study this every day like I do, you really are left to come to no conclusion other than that. And which is why everywhere I speak, since you mentioned that I do a lot of speaking, I give out pens and bumper stickers that say, "Smash the watermelons." And the watermelons are the environmental zealots who, when you study what they're doing every day like I do, you say, why are they doing this? Well, they are green on the outside, but like a watermelon, they are actually red on the inside, such as neo-socialism, neo-communism, or really just plain control. And we're surely seeing that played out right now in Ukraine and Crimea, because as I wrote a column a couple weeks ago when the uprising first happened in Ukraine, he who controls the energy controls the people.
When you talk about what they want climate change addressed. They want global warming addressed, whatever verbiage they want to use. But Marita, really, what is the bottom line? What do they want us to do? Do they want us to sew fig leaves together? Do they want us all to move into communes and everybody share the same little space heater? Really, what is their agenda? What do they want us to do?
Well, I believe that they want to cut down the tall poppy. There's an expression in Australia, and I've been there a couple times, called the tall poppy syndrome. And that is anyone who excels, anyone who does better than anyone else, that's the tall poppy. And they want to cut that tall poppy down so everyone is the same. Well, this is really socialism. And there are people, I believe, who at their core believes that America is that tall poppy. They may not use that term, but America has been that tall poppy. We have been the country that has excelled. We have had low-cost energy, which has allowed us many advantages, opportunities, and lifestyle that the rest of the world does not have. And so there are people, I believe, who do want to bring down America, and the best way they can do that is by making energy more difficult to obtain, by making it more expensive, and taking away that advantage, that inherent advantage that America has because we are blessed with rich natural resources such as oil, natural gas, and coal.
When you promote poverty, which basically the left is promoting poverty in a no-use, don't be progressive, everybody stay the same, everybody live in a little thatched hut. You've got to wonder, when you promote poverty underneath the guise of socialism and their progressivism, where's the money going to come from? They're going to go broke just like the rest of us.
Well, you do have to wonder that. Apparently they think they're going to be in some autocracy where they're going to be able to live high on the hog themselves because, as you know, as they fly from Keystone Pipeline rally to global warming rally, they're not flying in a solar-powered airplane. They're burning fossil fuels to get to those things, and they're using fossil fuels to get their messaging out. And so, when you look at it, if you put the pieces together of what their agenda is promoting, you come to no conclusion. You have to come to the conclusion. You can come to no conclusion other than that they really do not like America as it is. And as President Obama said when he was campaigning, he aimed to fundamentally transform America. Unfortunately, most people didn't look at what he meant by that. And part of that is restricting America's energy supply.
Marita, over 270-some years ago, we had King George to deal with, and we had to revolt against him to make this country start off to be a great country and then also become the world's leader. I'm not ashamed or inhibited to say maybe we need another revolt in this country right now to make sure that these people that want to demonize us and lessen us, they're put out in the back pasture, never to be heard from again.
I agree, and that's what we call the 2014 midterm elections, and we need to send those people out to pasture for sure.
What about Obama? The more I see the man on television, the more I listen to the man, the more I hear the speeches and the verbiage without his teleprompter, the less I like him, the less I have respect for him. I think he's absolutely one of the, if not the worst presidents that we've ever had, worse than Jimmy Carter. But the man's verbiage is two-faced on many respects. Is he, over this Keystone deal, is he finally going to wake up and smell the coffee and the bacon and sign yes for Keystone, or is he going to be arm twisted by the liberal left to put us deeper in the hole?
I hope I'm wrong, but I have been saying for the last year, and I haven't seen any reason to change my opinion, that no, he is not going to approve the Keystone Pipeline. Once again, I hope that I'm wrong on that. But when I look at what I call the Obama doctrine, which is reward your friends and punish those who oppose you, when you look at that and the Keystone Pipeline, and you look at who cares about the Keystone Pipeline? First off, we know President Obama cares nothing about Republicans. We know President Obama cares nothing about the oil and gas industry. We may question whether or not he even cares anything about America. But we do know that President Obama cares about his base. And of his base, there are only two groups within his base who care anything about the Keystone Pipeline. And those two groups are the environmentalists and the union. Well, based on what I just outlined for you as what I call the Obama doctrine, what have the unions done for or against him lately? Well, they're in the news again this past week over publicly humiliating, as they did heavily this past fall, publicly humiliating President Obama on his signature policy, Obamacare. They've come out opposed to Obamacare, and they've embarrassed him. So based on that alone, I think he's going to say no to it. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to be wrong.
You know, we keep talking about the midterms, Marita, and you and I visited about this many, many times on the program and then on a private telephone call. But the midterms I'm really scared of is because of the fact that this administration, with the gimme, gimme, gimme mentality of the American public getting worse with 47 million people on food stamps, gimme, 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 more from the government, and then you go to the polls and you're only seeing maybe between a 25 and a 27% turnout of voters going to the polls. I don't know about you, Marita, but I'm just really scared that we're not going to see any changes come November.
Well, that's why we have to keep talking about it. You and me and others who have the power of a microphone, however big or small it may be. That's why this is such an important issue that we have to talk about. And, of course, we have the congressional race in Florida last week that provides us with some optimism for how things are going to turn out in 2014.
I agree. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the EPA. This EPA is running roughshod over everybody in America with their dictates, their rules and regulations. And like I said the other day on the program, we ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to get a lot worse. What are your thoughts about the EPA?
Well, you're totally right. We ain't seen nothing yet. It is going to get a lot worse. And the Democrats who control the Senate, you might think, well, what does that have to do with the EPA? But it has a lot to do with the EPA, because if the Republicans controlled the Senate as well as the House, they would be able to pass legislation that would blunt some of the EPA's ability to pass onerous regulations. I mean, and we've got coming up, and this is not really the EPA, this is Fish and Wildlife Service, but coming up this month, we have an expected decision on whether to label the lesser prairie chicken as an endangered species. Well, if this happens, that it is going to greatly impact energy production in America. And energy is one of the few bright spots in the American economy right now. And EPA is doing the same thing. I mentioned the lesser prairie chicken because it's kind of a here, now, in front of us situation. But the EPA is doing the same thing, especially with coal-fired power plants and the regulations there. Of course, we know that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear one of these cases on the EPA legislation. And, the rumor on the street that I hear is that people believe that the Supreme Court is going to knock the EPA down on this particular case. And so, there's a little bit of optimism there. But again, the EPA is an example of why the 2014 election is, again, important.
Let me ask you this. You do a lot of traveling. You do a lot of speaking on energy. I don't care if you're in Washington. I don't care if you're in Wisconsin or wherever. What's the general mood of the people in the audience that you speak to? I mean, are they waking up and understanding that it's time to get involved and it's time to save America? Or what's the general attitude from the people that are listening to you?
Well, I think there's both. There is what you just described. Yes, people are waking up. People are concerned and afraid as they see the increased executive orders this president is using, the actions of the EPA and so forth. But sadly, there's also a lack of awareness. I spoke to a group last Friday in my hometown of Albuquerque here. I spoke to a Republican women's group, and I was quite shocked at the looks on their faces when I was telling them about the Senate sleepover and Tom Steyer and his millions and many of these issues that I talked about. They were just not even aware. And these are women who care enough about these issues to belong to the Federated Republican Women and to go to a monthly meeting and show up. But yet these things that I was telling them was new to them. And so for your listeners today, Zeb, I really encourage them to take these messages. And, of course, every week in my weekly column on townhall.com, I provide people with current news issues, but things that they can take and talk about. So they can say to the person at the grocery store, they can say to this person at their kid's soccer team, or wherever, at the water cooler, wherever it might be, they can say, hey, did you know that? And I firmly believe that if each and every one of us who are concerned make a commitment over the next 9 months to continue to talk about these issues and draw attention to these issues so that your voice, Zeb, and my voice can be amplified through the average people out there who are listening today, I believe that we can make a difference because education on these issues is very important.
I totally agree with you, but one final thought here regarding the media, and we've got a lot of problems with the ABCs, CBSs, and NBCs and CNNs. Very, very secretive and very selective about what stories they will put out because they don't want to make any waves with the White House. How do we overcome that?
Well, that's another challenge. I mean, we definitely are working kind of with our hands tied behind our back here with the mainstream media. And, again, that's why people talking is so important. That's why the social media is so important, Facebook and Twitter and so forth. I was on my current column this week is about my experience a week ago when I flew to New York to be on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. And the comments I'm getting from people based on the column I wrote from that experience is very interesting. They're congratulating me for being brave enough to basically go into the lion's den to try to get the truth out there. Now, I know Jon Stewart's show is not going to give me favorable treatment, but what I've been able to do about that experience, I mean, I've already had 2 radio show requests today for interviews, and I just sent the column out an hour or so ago, and I've already had 2 requests today to do radio shows to talk about my experience on the Jon Stewart Show. So by going there, I'm getting some additional messaging opportunities.
Absolutely. I got to wrap things up. It's been a fast 22 minutes, but final thought.
It always is.
You, as a Roadrunner state representative, must be pretty proud. New Mexico and New Mexico State both made the final 64. I bet the pride is in your face this morning.
Well, New Mexico, it's always nice to be on the top of the list for something.
Okay. Marita, thank you. God bless you. Executive Director of Energy Makes America Great, Marita Noon. Come back soon, please.
Anytime, Zeb. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love that lady. She does a great job and really understands the plight we're in with energy in this country. Marita Noon, always a good guest to have on the show. Okay, we've got to wrap some things up here, and I want to mention to you real quick that every Thursday on Zeb at the Ranch, we have a program segment at 10:12 in the morning on Thursdays called School Days in Cassia County. And we have 2 wonderful sponsors of that segment, A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And, of course, at A Child's World, don't you forget, it's the largest children's store in southern Idaho. Great place for birthday gifts, and gift wrapping is always free, and they've got spring clothes arriving daily. They've got a baby registry going on right now for new babies arriving in your family. Oh, you got to get in there. And it's the home of the Cherokee and Dickey Scrubs at, of course, A Child's World. 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. The other great sponsor of that segment is Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. And each month, over 100 cases are performed at the Ambulatory Surgery Center. Patients receive very friendly, home-like attention with outstanding professional care. All you have to do is call 677-8888. Eye surgeries, tonsils, ear surgeries, arthroscopic knee surgeries, and many, many more. Colonoscopies, all of this and more at the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. And those 2, along with A Child's World, are the sponsors of School Days in Cassia County. We're going to take a little break for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back with our next guest, Sandra Mitchell, with the Idaho Recreation Council. Stay tuned.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much. Gina, if you're right there, I think what we're going to do before we put our guest on is we'll do a little bit of a weather update with Michael Rogers Weather, brought to you by Scarro's Meats at 331 North Road in Jerome. Hey, it's time for the tax return meat bundle. What's It's the tax return meat bundle. Listen to this. 75 pounds of beef, pork, and chicken for only $250. Cut the way you like it. Scarro's Meats, locally owned custom meat processor. They've been in the area for over 20 years and do the best job selling taste one bite at a time. Remember, Scarro's Meats. Call them 324-7657. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. It's going to be very windy today. Serious. I have to play around with busy wind gusts up to possibly 60 miles an hour today. Right now, sustained 35 to 50. It's going to continue this way, along with rain for much of the day and also for tonight. The winds will taper off tomorrow, where it will be sunny and a daytime high right around the upper 50s. Daytime high today in the upper 50s also. But by the same token, our weather story for today is wind, and it is not fooling around. Be careful today and have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. And he's right about that wind. It's really hitting the west side of the studio right here. And the weather this hour brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Selling taste, one bite at a time. Really good, folks. You know, when I talk about really good folks, I've got to talk about this lady. I just absolutely and thoroughly enjoy having her on the program. She's really well educated about what's going on with our public lands, and she's with the Idaho Recreation Council. Let's give a great big welcome to Sandra Mitchell. Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Good morning. I am well, thank you. Yes, enjoying this weather. The wind. I drove through snow this morning, wind, and now I'm in rain and wind.
Oh, my goodness.
You get it all in Idaho, don't you?
Yes, ma'am. Sandra, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the program this morning. I am very, very concerned that little bit, kind of like the old Three Stooges bit, inch by inch, little bit by little bit, the government's taking away more of our public land, more of our availability to get on and use and see the land. Is it worse than when I talked to you the last time?
Well, I don't know that it's worse. It just continues down this bad road, and it certainly isn't getting any better or any easier to protect access to the public lands. But it has been challenging for a long, long time. But I don't know that I honestly would sit here and tell you today it's gotten worse. It just hasn't gotten any better, and it really, truly is just a challenge to continue on working with the federal agencies, participating in all the processes, attending all the collaborative meetings, and doing everything we can to protect access. However, had we not been doing what we have been doing for all these years, we wouldn't have the access we have.
Okay, now, Sandra, why? I mean, that's a very simplistic question, why? But why are they so bent on moving you and I and others away completely from any usage of public lands, our tax-paid dollar lands? Why are they doing this?
Well, I'll give you my explanation for it, and it isn't because the Forest Service is made up of a bunch of folks, or the BLM, who are just determined to eliminate access from the public lands. In fact, I honestly think that the vast majority of federal employees in both agencies are hardworking Americans just trying to do their job. In the early 70s, mid-70s, Congress passed a number of well-intentioned laws, no question about it. They had the best of goals. However, those laws have come to just create havoc with access to the public lands. And when I'm talking about those kinds of laws, I'm talking about ESA, the Endangered Species Act, NEPA, FLIPMA, Clean Water, Clean Air, and included in all of those acts were material that folks have used against the agencies to shut down access. And just as an example of how effective they are, I recently sat in a meeting with Forest Service when they were explaining to us their proposed action, their starting scoping, and they were going to open a trail to snowmobiling that we have been working for 15 years to get open. And yes, they finally admitted they could no longer justify its closure. They were going to open it, but they were going to close thousands of acres in the backcountry. And when we questioned why are you closing acres, they blamed it on wildlife concerns, and then they backed up and they said, no, really, it's because if we don't close something, we'll get sued.
So basically, that's the bottom line, and it's all about fear from the environmental groups in this country and their deep pockets, their assets in the bank. The Forest Service and the BLM are afraid of being sued because of the environmental movement. That's the bottom line.
Well, I think that's a great part of it. I also think that you can't beat up on the environmentalists without beating up on Congress that passed those laws. And all the Congresses since then have refused to amend those laws and make them, somewhat more inclined with common sense. Let me tell you in a classic example. I'm working with the recreational miners, and they do sled or dredge mining on rivers, and they for years had to get permits, and they have. In 1972, the Clean Water Act listed as pollutants rock and sand. Now, how many streams, creek, water bodies do you know that do not have rocks and sand in them?
Oh my.
So if you move those rocks and sands, you just move them to another part of the river, you are discharging, you are polluting the river.
How in the world?
You can't do it.
How do we fight?
And so they're shutting down dredge mining.
Mm-hmm.
Dredge mining. Now, everybody knows animals walk through. They displace sand and gravel. People who fish displace sand and gravel. Are they also polluting the river? This is natural to the river, this sand and gravel. So how can moving it be polluting? That's the lack of common sense there is. And so the environmentalists read those laws, and you can just see the lawsuits that would be based on them.
So basically, my possibility in the future of not being able to go up on a four-wheeler and enjoy some of the backcountry, or my possibility in the future to saddle one of my horses and go up and enjoy that country, is based upon the premise of fear of being sued or litigation from environmental groups that haven't got a clue.
Well, I think they do have a clue. They read the laws. And the truth is, you know and I know, if those laws were on our side, we'd be using them in lawsuits. We would. But they're not on our side. They're used against responsible access to the public lands. So we are losing access. And however, we can't quit. If we quit, they win. We'll lose all access. So we have to stay in the fight. And what we have to do is the next time there's a new administration, the Senate, the House are the same, we need to work with them to get some of these laws amended. There have been a number of attempts over the years to amend the ESA, and it hasn't happened. We have to put the pressure on to get some of these laws amended so that they resemble what's actually happening out on the ground. And the people who are writing them actually know what's happening out there. And they understand access. There is no question that every time we touch the land, we have an impact. So the no impact is ridiculous. Man, animals, we're all going to have an impact. But what is the acceptable level of impact? And there has to be an acceptable level.
The one thing that always has made me mad is, and I know some people will say, well, yeah, but you're just trying to put your position ahead of others. There are millions and millions of people like myself that need either a vehicle of a horse and or a motorized vehicle to share in the beauty and the absolute majesty of our backcountry. Without that, we're just basically discriminated against so that we can't see anything or partake of any of the fun that our great public lands can offer. I personally would like to get more involved and spit in the eye of the environmentalists and government for trying to close me out and discriminate against me.
Well, I would like you to be involved, but I don't think spitting in the eye is the answer. I think there's some other ways you could be more effective. For example, you could join a club, an organization, and you can participate in the process. I will tell you, I have been doing this for enough years. I was on a congressional staff. I watched it all. Now I've been working with the users, and I will tell you, being involved makes a difference. It truly does. Numbers count. It's really easy to take something away if nobody cares. It's easy to shut down land if nobody stands up and fights back. So it makes a difference. And that's what we all have to figure out. It may not be a lot of fun. We may not like to go to another meeting, write another letter, make another phone call, send an email message. But I'll tell you what, if your access is important, if you want your grandchildren and your children to enjoy this, then I think you have to participate. Someone once told me, and it touched me deeply, she was a dirt motorcycle rider, and she said they used to sit around the campfires and talk to the old-timers, and they would tell them about where they used to ride. And she said, I never want to have to tell my children where I used to ride. I want to show them where I rode.
Absolutely.
And I'm involved, and she stayed involved, and she worked hard, and she made a difference. And that's what we all have to do. It's frustrating. It makes you a little crazy at times. But the bottom line is, if we quit, we lose automatically.
I agree with you 100%, but there's another part of the problem I want to talk about, and that's our politicians. But before we get to the politicians and the politics of the matter, we have a caller with a question. Sandra, go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Why aren't we getting behind the politicians that are trying to get our federal lands changed into state lands the way they're supposed to be, with the states that have been admitted in the eastern part of the United States and also Hawaii? If we would elect the good officials and get them there, that's what we need. You should have been at the meeting the other night. Tea Party. Okay, I ever make a comment, I'll hang up.
All right, sir, thank you. And would you respond to that, please, Sandra?
Yes, absolutely. The Idaho Recreation Council is a proud member of the American Land Council out of Utah, and we have been supportive of and continue to support the transfer of public lands to the state. I agree. I think it's the ultimate answer. Do I think it's going to happen this year or next year? Absolutely not. But once again, these are long fights. So we start now, and we continue to make the case, and we build. I'm also working on a task force that's working in the western states to bring the other western states on board. Obviously this isn't easy, and it's going to take the agreement of Congress to make this happen. And so it's a long fight, but it's one we have to be in, and I agree. It is the ultimate answer.
Well, I want to go back to what I started before that last call, and by the way, calls are welcome, 436-2244. But Sandra, we've got a real problem with, I think, politicians that basically just give lip service to their constituents and then go back to Washington and just basically sit in just to be one of the good old boys. I'm not saying that in all cases, but I am saying that I think that they're kind of like willows in the wind, and they'll bend whichever way they're pushed. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I've never understood, and having been involved in politics a long time in Idaho, it's hard to understand completely Potomac fever. But I got to tell you, it's true. I mean, a lot of folks do get back there, and they forget the people they represent. I've asked the question often: why is it that the minute you get elected to office, you think you're smarter than the people who elected you? And part of the problem is we allow them to do that. And in Idaho, trust me, having worked for a United States congressman and a senator, there's nothing more humbling than being elected by Idahoans, because they bring you right back to earth. They may call you senator, and they may clear tables for you, but in Idaho, you are a, what the heck are you doing, and why did you vote for that? People in Idaho are very blunt, and we need to be. We need not to let them get away. But once again, that means we have to be involved. We have to go to the town meetings. We have to participate in campaigns. We have to vote. We have to make sure that they know that we're watching, that they understand our positions, and that we care about what they do.
Absolutely. We have a caller with another question. Go ahead, caller, please. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Deb, amen, amen, amen. Lest we forget, when election years roll around, people become complacent and worried about keeping their position rather than stirring the pot. And we need to remember this, and we need to remember who voted them in, and they become so forgetful, even the people that represent this Magic Valley, of who put them in office, and they allow money from other regions to dictate where their emphasis is put.
Absolutely. Caller, thank you very much for your call. Response, please, Sandra?
Oh, I agree. And it is our responsibility to make sure they never forget who elected them, and they never forget what our issues are and why we want them back there. We don't want them back there to get a pension. We don't want them back there to participate in all the wonderful going-ons. We want them back there voting and fighting for us and doing everything they can to make a difference.
We have a problem right here in the state of Idaho, and I couldn't wait to get you on the program to talk about this. I am very, very concerned about the White Clouds issue. I'm very concerned that with the stroke of a pen or perhaps the picking up of his cell phone, Obama will turn it into a national monument. I have damned that. I don't want to see any more lockup of our land through the federal monuments. What are your thoughts?
Well, the national monument makes me a little angry for a number of reasons. One, I think it was another one of those well-intentioned pieces of legislation that was, given to the president so they could make sure that there were certain small areas that had unique characteristics that could be protected. It's my understanding, every president but 5 have used their authority under the National Monument, the National Antiquities Act. So it's being misused. However, let's remember that in the Bush II first administration, we had the White House, we had the Senate, and we had the House. They could have amended the Antiquities Act. They could have put something in it that required them to work with local authorities, required them to involve the delegation of that state, but they didn't amend it, and so we're faced with it again. However, let me tell you that a national monument can be written any way they choose. It doesn't require that they eliminate all motorized and mechanized use. In fact, they can allow it. They can they can direct a management plan to be written any way they want in the proclamation. So it could be done well. It could benefit the people of a state, or it could be done poorly, like the Escalante was in Utah, and it was contrary to the custom and culture and the historic uses of that area. So, it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative. It could be a positive. But the sad part is, it's strictly a political move.
Right.
There is nothing that the Idaho delegation can do about it. Trust me. We've talked to them repeatedly, and we'll continue to talk with them and to ask for their help. And they do help us whenever they can. The governor of Idaho is thoroughly involved. He is completely engaged in this process. There are 4 issues that are important to him to protect. That's grazing rights, the state endowment lands, water rights, and motorized recreation. He's working very hard trying to be a part of a process, trying to ensure that there is a process before a national monument is drawn. However, we can do everything we can do. And the day before the term is over, before Mr. Obama turns out the lights, he can sign a proclamation and make it any way he wants. We have been told that that's not his goal. His goal is to come up with a monument that works for Idahoans. Now, interesting enough, a national monument is different than wilderness. It's not wilderness. In fact, it can allow any uses they choose to in it. So that's different from wilderness, because if you know, wilderness says no mechanized and no motorized uses. The other thing about a national monument is Congress could designate on top of it. So if, in fact, they came up with one that didn't work, there could be legislation passed to make it into a national protection area. So there's lots of things that around a national monument that are different than wilderness, because wilderness is passed by Congress. There are 2 national monuments that are really seriously being proposed in Idaho that I know of. That's the Boulders, and the other one is in the Island Park area.
Yes.
And that one, my understanding is that one, the intention will be to protect winter recreation, which includes snowmobiling, which is an essential part of the economy of Island Park in the winter. As you can well imagine, they don't have a lot of economy in the winter if it weren't for snowmobiling.
Absolutely.
So National Monument is really a challenge. But remember, it is strictly a political act. And we are doing everything we can, and we will be giving people across the state the opportunity to have their voices heard about how they want the boulders managed and protected.
Absolutely. Let me ask you one final thought, and it just hit me a few minutes ago when I was asking you about this, but what about all the people, millions of people around the United States that have been subjected to discrimination and not being able to use or utilize or go see the public lands because of a physical challenge and have been locked out in various places? Why hasn't there been, quote unquote, a opting for a class action lawsuit against the government? Has anybody ever thought about putting together on behalf of the physically challenged people a lawsuit against the government?
Yes, and that's the American Disabilities Act, and trust me, we have discussed that on numerous occasions. In fact, we considered seriously using that and discussed it, and we were involved in a suit in Hells Canyon having to do with jet boat access to the Wild River. And here is what the answer is from the agencies, and this has been taken to the court, that they do have to provide access for disabled people, but they don't have to do it on every acre.
That doesn't make sense to me.
I know.
Okay.
So they do provide it, and they will show you places where it is available, but for example, there's nothing that requires them to provide access in the wilderness.
Yeah, but you see,
that requires them to provide access on designated rivers, wild rivers.
Yeah,
but they do in other places have to provide access. But that's the answer they give.
But you let me know anytime I can be of assistance on this and lend my name to it, because I don't want to be discriminated against as a taxpayer or because of a physical challenge. And I will fight to the death for the right to use and see the land that I pay taxes for.
It makes no sense to me. I, for the life of me, do not understand why we make it more difficult for the very old, the very young, to use the public lands, especially at a time, if you look now, the administration is talking about how we have to get people out there enjoying nature, being a part of nature,
yes,
and yet they make it so difficult to do it. And we can make it much easier. And I will tell you that we do. It does make a difference to participate. It's easy to say, I quit, I give up, I don't like this, it isn't fun, it's not right, and walk away. It's over then. We can't promise you that we'll win every fight, but I can promise you if you don't enter the ring, you don't have a chance of winning.
That's right.
So participating, being a part of the process, going to those meetings, talking to politicians, whether they be county commissioner or state legislator or senators, do it. Let them know that you care, that you're watching, and access to the public lands in a responsible way for both motorized and non-motorized is important to you.
Boy, I tell you, you are a great, great spokesperson from the Idaho Recreation Council. Sandra Mitchell, thank you for taking the time to come on my program again today, and I'll look forward to having you back in the future. God bless, and come back soon, okay?
And thank you. God bless you. And check out our website, id-rc.org, Idaho Recreation Council.
Thank you, Sandra. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Nice lady. Very knowledgeable. Oh, I got to hurry and tell you about a great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Great big tire sale. How about the Open Country AT2? Their best traction light truck tire on sale. 40% more tread life, enhanced traction, better braking. Oh, yeah. You're going to love having that big dude on your pickup. I'll tell you that. And, of course, the best in brake service, the best in shocks and struts, the best in batteries. Holy cow, they've got custom wheels there. You're going to love it. But above all, the service. The very best of service during the spring tire sale for you at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and my old buddy Randy on Overland and Burley. Great big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. St. Patrick's Day, and I'll bet you the interior of the bars are going to be packed because of the bad weather. Gina O'Jameson, I hope you have a good day. And
I shall, and you as well. Stay indoors, stay out of the wind.
I tell you what, the only green beer I'm going to imbibe in is right here at home.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great idea. But this wind's supposed to be lasting until about 6 o'clock tonight. So everybody, please be careful. And don't forget St. Patrick's Day Parade canceled today in Twin Falls.
Right. A real quick question, and you're quite the cook. Is there a special food that's got the connotation with St. Patrick's Day?
Corned beef and cabbage.
Ah, that's right. I'll try to have some. Well, listen, kiss the Blarney Stone and have a good day. We're going to wrap things up tomorrow on the program. We've got some really interesting people, especially author Joe Wolverton talking about gun control. Dr. History is going to be here. We've got a lady coming on talking about the Veterans Administration and the lack of care to our soldiers. All of this and more on Zeb at the Ranch. Don't forget the way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.